So I love that. And Daughtry has had a good career. I don't think he won either. So no, there's guys that can, sometimes, but again, this is going back. I mean, I don't know anybody recently,
Nothing
in the last
past.
decade where somebody comes off those shows. Anyway, not to bash on the shows, because I mean, they have their place and they're entertaining. I just don't, the world I live in, like, it's not really, I don't love the competitiveness of it, so.
Yeah.
But
dude, thank you, man. That was phenomenal. I really appreciate that. I'm going to drop the tempo here now.
Oh.
What were some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with? I know after that, need a cup of hot tea with some honey to tone down.
Low points. Well, as an optimist, I don't like to dwell on those. And again, I mean, in the beginning, when you were going through my credits, it's like, wow, when you put them all in like 30 seconds, it really sounds like I've done a lot. but there's lulls, there are lulls there. And I made a choice, Steve Feckney and I, to leave Avril Lavigne in 2013. And actually, that's actually really ironic that this sentence is about to happen, that I left her to play with the winner of The Voice, which was a girl named Cassadee Pope. And there were a couple of reasons that happened, but that was a very interesting experience. One of the main reasons I did that is because I had never worked in country music, and it was a box I wanted to check. She won. She had come from a rock and roll background, actually, and actually right now, I believe she just re-released this song, "Wasting All These Tears," which had sold 1 million singles right when it was her first single after The Voice, and she just released it in kind of an emo rock version, which is really where she was mostly at home always. And I love Cassadee. Her country career did okay, but I think she was always at heart a rock singer. And so, but I wanted to work in country, but going from working with an Avril Lavigne, someone super successful, and I had been, working with really A-list artists, to a fledgling artist. I mean, we went back to Vans, and really early morning radio promotional tours, which are incredibly difficult to do. And then we got the bus and everything, but like we went grassroots. Like I kind of went, in a way I went backwards, because we were playing very small places. I mean, we were playing bowling alleys and shit, so I went from the Tokyo Dome to playing the Garden Center.
Wow.
Like we would play at fucking Walmart. I mean, she would play anywhere because they were trying to get her going. And then she opened up for big acts, Tim McGraw and big arenas and stuff like that. But there were a lot of shows where it was like, what did we get ourselves into here? So it was, I don't want to say it was a low point, because it wasn't a low point, but it was kind of stepping back in ways in terms of the venues and the comfortability of certain things. And then there were a few years.
Financially, it had to be a step back as well.
It was a little bit, but that was also part of the decision, because I knew that Avril wasn't going to be working so much in the coming years. And I knew that Cassadee would be very busy. So that's the thing, as a player, you want to work with artists that are busy. You can't really afford, I mean, sure, there's certain, some gigs have retainers and they kind of keep you around, but I mean, in general, you want to be working, right? And that's where, certain artists that are just road dogs, you hear about these guys. I mean, the Goos are one of them. I mean, they just work all the time. So there's not a lot of, time where you're just sitting at home twiddling your thumbs. And I saw, again, that was where I saw Avril heading into she was going to make a new album, and she was going to probably take some time off. And I had just had my daughter, and I was like, I gotta be out there working, man.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the reasons, because I knew that Cassadee was going to be incredibly busy for a time, and that was true. But then when that kind of died down, there were a couple of years of a little bit of lean. I mean, you go through these lulls. I mean, you get these big tours, and you're really successful for you're making a lot of money for X amount of months or a year or whatever it is, and then there's going to be breaks, and that's where the production stuff for me has been incredibly helpful, because having a studio and having gear that I can make a record from, whether it's in my house or at another room that I rent, those, and if you can get into productions, then that can tide you over until the next tour or the next kind of TV show or thing. So the production, and obviously it's great to be creative and fun and to write songs and get more music out into the world. But also financially, I figured a way, it became a business where I was able to, sustain,
build another income stream for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
man, I've never said this to anybody. You really should put a book together, because the things that you're talking about,
Thanks.
Really, I've never said this to anybody, because yeah. And I've written a book, so I know what it's involved to write a book. And I know you have enough material to write a book. And because it's biographical in nature, but it's extremely instructional.
That's been hard. Thank you. First of all, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I've been, it's funny because I've got about 220 pages, but what's weird is, again, sometimes with my brain, I'll go off and there'll be, stuff that's like super personal and stuff about where, I wrote a story. I'll indulge me for a moment. I wrote down a story, and I reread this recently because I've been trying to organize things into something that's cohesive. It actually works well because I was working with Cassadee. It was me, Steve Feckety, and Cassadee, and it was just an acoustic jam. And in country, they do.
You guys
these...
even look alike a little bit in some way. You look similar. Like if someone said you guys are like
we brothers,
step brothers or something.
Sometimes people ask that. Yeah, it's funny. We were doing a gig in Texas, and a lot of these country gigs, it's like a round robin, right? So like, an artist will come up with an acoustic, one guy or two guys, and then they'll do 4 or 5 songs, and then they'll bring up another act, and da. So this was outside in Texas, and I don't know what the heck it was, but it was like 38 degrees. It was,
oh my God,
freezing. And it was acoustic guitars, right? And I remember, so I called my wife, and I was asking about how my daughter was or whatever. And I was in a mood, let's just say. And look, we all know when we're at our best, right? And sometimes when you're on the road for a while and the conditions aren't good, or I don't know, you're playing
and it's
crappy,
38 degrees out, and you're playing
gig
outside
and whatever. And it's like, she could hear that I was complaining, and I was, whatever. And she said, listen, she said, I wrote this all down, so I know exactly what she said, but I'm paraphrasing now. And she said something to the effect of, look, you can choose to be a little whiny, whatever.
Little whiny bitch.
Or, you can be the best you and make light of the situation. And she goes, look, there's people out there in the crowd that are, they're cold. They're drinking, but they're trying to have fun. You can be the best you and try to make it, basically she was giving me agency. Look, because, I have a large personality, and, I'm Irish and Italian. I speak my mind, and usually, like, because I'm not a dark person, I think, by nature, but if I go that way, it's not good. And so she was just saying, look, you can turn this around and make it something different. And it was about gratitude, right? She's like, look, you're out there, you're making music, you can choose to have a great show or not, or you can whine about it. And it was a little tough love. And she doesn't normally do that,